Ray Sally. It's 5:15. We'll call this regular meeting to order. I'd like to welcome everybody that's in the audience this evening. Would you please stand and recite the pledge with me? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Moving on to letter B, board norms. I haven't read them for a while, so I will do that this evening. Board norms are decisions will be based on the board's strategic plan, its mission, and what's best for students. The boards will act as stewards of tax dollars. Board members will complete foundation work to be prepared before meetings. Meetings will be effective. All perspectives will be voiced and heard, and all board members will maintain a professional decorum. Moving to letter C, is there any public communication? None. Is there any conflicts of interest to declare? Bob?
I don't need to declare a conflict of interest, but I do want to point out when we get to the Art Center agreement that I am on the board there.
Okay.
But it's not a conflict.
Okay. Any other items? None. Moving to consent agenda, is there a motion to approve? Motion by Jennifer. Seconded by Brenda. Any discussion? Hearing none, assuming roll call vote, all those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Moving to our regular meeting agenda, we have nothing under correspondence or recognition. Moving into reports, school officer report. Officer Andrew, you want to come forward?
Good evening. So this year has obviously been my first full year. Last year I came in towards the end of the school year, but it's been exciting, challenging at times, different than other police work. I do have some statistics from this past year, my time at the schools. I covered 9 traffic accidents. It's amazing how those light poles jump out and hit their cars. Most of them at the high school. 4 simple assaults, 19 disorderly conducts, 4 drug possessions, drug paraphernalia. I had 3. 8 possessions of tobacco, 211 SRO prevention education calls for service. An SRO education prevention call for service would be me stopping in a classroom, teaching a class, visiting a school for some reason. 18, that's not right, but 18 sporting events. Had a lot more than that. Football, basketball, volleyball, hockey. 21 unruly juveniles. And 18 welfare checks. Some of them are, a lot of those are students that haven't been to school or aren't showing up to school. Principal or teacher may ask me to go check on them, make sure that everything is okay. Classes that I've been teaching this year, Captain Gluttony now. He used to teach quite a few of the classes. A lot of people know him as Officer John. But he was promoted to captain this past year, so I took over quite a few of the classes that he's been teaching. Those include Meet a Police Officer for kindergarten, Latchkey Program for 4th grade, basically a home alone safety class that we put on, Fire Prevention for 1st and 3rd grade, Halloween Safety for 1st grade, Beware of Strangers for 2nd grade, DARE for 5th grade. This year was my first year teaching DARE. I had 9 classes each week for 10 weeks. I had 171 students, so quite a few. That kept me busy for quite a while. Seatbelt safety for 3rd grade, arson awareness for 5th grade. We just wrapped up bike safety for 1st grade, 3rd grade, and 5th grade. And coming up this week, I have summer safety for kindergarten. When I haven't been teaching a class, that's kept me pretty busy. But when I'm not teaching a class, I spend most of my time trying to float around to different schools, elementary schools, middle school, and high school. I do spend a lot of time at the high school. I try to be there during our lunch periods at the high school, just because that seems to be times where we may have issues. But the kids keep me busy. I'll be there for lunch, and they'll always be calling me over to their tables, asking me questions. Some of them are kind of out there, some of those questions. But they're wondering, they're curious, and I'm willing to listen and help them answer their questions as best as I can. It seems when I'm at the school, someone's always got something going on. They're always coming to me, asking me for something. So it's been a busy year, but I've really enjoyed it. It's been a good year.
Any questions for Andrew? Okay.
Just want to thank Andrew. We've been very fortunate in Jamestown. We've had 2 SROs since the inception of the program, Nick Hardy previously, and now Andrew Staska. And I think one of the really important things that happens is when Officer Staska is extremely visible in our buildings, and what that allows him to do is build a relationship with our students. And that's extremely valuable, not only from the standpoint of the police in developing that relationship with the police, but it's important to educational component too. And so we are very, he talked about the activities. It's hard to go to an activity and not see Officer Staska at some point or another around, and in whatever that number said on there, 18 or whatever. I know that was probably February.
Probably.
Because I know it's a lot more than that. And I think Andrew does go above and beyond with the visibility and ensuring that he gets into every building to the degree that he can, and getting into those activities, I think, is very important too. So thank you to you, Andrew.
Diane?
I just want to echo that and say you definitely go above and beyond. Your schedule is so crowded, it's hard to believe that you can fit it all in. I mean, just the SROs alone, 211, is amazing. And I do see you around a lot, and it's really great to see you and how the kids respond to you. And I wanted to say, I think I've mentioned this before, but somehow he managed to fit in my Cub Scout troop in a tour of the law enforcement center. I mean, this is a very dedicated young man, and we really appreciate having him. Thank you.
Thank you.
Any other questions or comments? Or none? Thanks for coming. Thanks for the reports.
Thank you.
Moving on to number 2, superintendent's report. Rob?
Sure, you have my report there. Just to highlight a few different areas. If you're not aware, in a little bit I'm going to be talking about do some board education on the different licensure changes. I shared a presentation with you, but it references a North Dakota teacher lookup tool, and for those that aren't familiar with that, it's a pretty handy tool. But if you click on that link, it'll take you to the website, and you enter in a name, and you are able to see. It's very handy as a school administrator that you're able to see what this person is licensed to teach. And I gave you mine. So if you go and look through that snip that I added to my presentation, or my report, I should say, it has different qualifications, my license, when I've renewed, education level, then the different credentials that I hold, and endorsements if I had any restrictions if I had any. But really where the meat comes is the ESBB courses that I'm qualified to teach. And I'm going to, again, talk about the changes that came up in licensure that added some classes back to this list. When I first started teaching, this list looked very similar to this. When No Child Left Behind came around, some of those changed, and I was limited somewhat to teaching without some different things that I had to do, taking a praxis test or getting a major equivalency, things like that. So mine has changed a little bit now. And then you see on the bottom the credential areas, which is the principal and superintendent positions there. But I do think that's a handy tool. It certainly is for teachers and for educators in general to have that teacher lookup tool to check your own credentials. But it is nice to see. It's all public information. But I think that's a handy tool, and I appreciate that ESPB has done that. A few different areas to touch on in terms of our legislative updates. This will likely be the last update that I have for you unless something else comes up in terms of something I might have missed that I wanted to share. In 1013, we did, again, I'm a little concerned about the loss of the REA dollars. I am happy that the transportation budget was only decreased 1.2 million. That at one point was as high as 6, so that was very concerning. I'm very happy about that. I do wish that there was a little more support there for REAs, but that's something we'll continue to work on. In 1040, something I'm very happy about is we've been working, I've talked before about our legislative focus group, but I serve on the student services committee, or one of the committees I serve on is student services. We've been working for a couple years on getting some pilot programs for behavioral health services. And while it's not a lot of funds, $150,000 in the second year of the biennium devoted to behavioral health, a pilot, and I'm not sure how that's going to be administered, but I'm very happy to see that that was supported in a tough economic session, that was supported. So that kind of came out of conference committee. That was cut, and through some hard work and continued conversations, some of that was actually put back, so we're very happy about that. 1098 is what we'll be talking about in board education. 1324 is our funding bill. I added some information about REAs in there in general, but again, that 0% in both years of the biennium, as we've talked before, our deductions continue to go up. So a 0% on the same number of students means a decrease. So I feel the need to continue to have that conversation so we're all on the same page, that 0% isn't a hold harmless. It actually goes backwards because our deductions increase. Now, of course, if we increase students, then that's another story, but we're just talking an apples to apples comparison. 1361, that was the excess levy. 1389, I talked about that before. That was the opt-out, and that actually passed through conference committee. 2037 and 2243 were the loan forgiveness. Essentially, 43 areas of that were rolled into 2037, and the fiscal note was decreased, but for what we had hoped for, but it does provide loan forgiveness, which I think is important. The most likely to succeed event, I know that there were 3 board members that were able to attend that. Generally speaking, I think the feedback we had was really pretty positive. Just as a reminder, we watched 4 clips. In between the clips, we had a panel discussion. A lot of thanks to Sean Rinkenberger and Kirsten Basler, who joined Adam and myself to do those. Based on the questions that we had at the end of the event, I think it was very informative for people, and we're appreciative of people coming. And obviously, in a perfect world, we'd pack the auditorium, but still getting the 50-60 that we did get was very positive. I've talked before about the 21st century video Q&As. Those will be coming out hopefully in the near future. So I would be happy to answer any questions, or if there's any other feedback on the most likely to succeed, I'd be happy to listen to that too.
Any comments or questions for Rob? None? Okay. Moving on to our board education, we have gearing up for kindergarten. Vicki?
good evening, Board, and Mr. Leck, and community members. I'm Vicki Combs, and I am the principal in charge of Gearing Up for Kindergarten. I help find the teachers, and Mr. Leck and Amy and I correspond with how many kids and families are signed up. So when they do their kindergarten registration, then they have the opportunity to sign up for this class. This year we had 27 families, and anywhere from 7 to 19 attended on a regular basis. We had 2 regular ed teachers and a parent educator and 3 aides, and we had one that actually offered childcare. We didn't use her a lot because there wasn't a lot of childcare needs, so she helped in the classrooms. But Gearing Up for Kindergarten is a way for us to help parents and children to be ready for that very important move in their lifetime. And we know that socially, emotionally, and academically, that kindergarten isn't what it used to be. And so it's very important that these parents have that opportunity. They can find out how to really help their child to be ready to enter the doors in the fall of the year. And it's a 10-week session where these kids come for one time a week for 3 hours, or 1.5 hours, and they spend the first part of the evening with their parents working on literacy or science or math or manipulatives. And then the parents go up to a room where they have a parent educator that helps them to answer lots of questions and give them tips and tools on helping their child to be successful. So some of the things that the kids, I think, encounter is that even being in a structured area and with a teacher, sometimes it's getting along with another child in a situation. So the kids encounter a lot like they do if they were in a regular kindergarten room. This program was funded in 2015 through the legislature. Each classroom receives $3,300, and so because we had 27 parents, we had 2 classrooms this year. And but it's unfortunate. This is one of the cuts that were made through the legislature this year, and there will be no funding for the Gearing Up for Kindergarten program next year through NDSU. This program was started, and I know that Mr. Leck was probably in the very beginning, a part of that process. I also took the classes 6 years ago so that our district could have Gearing Up for Kindergarten. So it's one of those unfortunate changes, but maybe there's other ways that we can actually help parents to be ready, and we'll just have to be more creative about that. Are there any questions?
Well, I have one question, Vicki.
Sure.
What's the percentage of the ones coming in to use it, the ones that are actually coming to kindergarten in the fall?
I'm not sure exactly what our kindergarten numbers are. Do you know at this time, Rob?
Well, we typically have, just say as a standard, 150, 160 students coming in kindergarten. And traditionally, this program brings in, I think 27 was the number.
Yeah, it was
and it's
this
been
year.
as high as 39.
Yeah.
It's, in a perfect world, we would have everybody. Because I do think it's been an excellent program to not only get the support for the student to transition to kindergarten, but also for the parents. I can tell you as a parent that went through the program, Mrs. Combs talked. I was part of a pilot program when in my first superintendency, and this is when it was a program called Countdown to Kindergarten, and it was a grant funded, and then that evolved into Gearing Up for Kindergarten. And what I like about the program is just as Mrs. Combs explained, you spend that first time with your child learning something that they're going to be learning, an age-appropriate skill that they're going to be working on. But then after that, the student still gets to continue to work with that teacher on that skill, and then the parents are getting parent education. And going through the program myself, you kind of think, well, I wonder what I'll learn. But it was, as a parent, it was very valuable to learn the different strategies that are out there. So even when you think you know it all, you can always learn a little bit more. And I thought it was very valuable as a parent to say, like I said, to get those strategies. I really think it's something that every parent could benefit from.
Well, and actually, it gets our parents ready for that transition of being a part of their child's education. And we know that when parents are involved, that they are the first and foremost teacher of their children, and if they're involved in their child's education, that children do better in their academics all the way through every transition in their school career. And so this piece with that parent component has been very successful.
Well, I think it's a good program, and that as far as the numbers, I mean, they're good numbers too, and if a person can keep it going, can add to those numbers, and so. Any other questions? Heidi?
I just want to thank you for your work on this. I remember we started with the pilots as well here, and through the last 6 years, we've found some things that worked and didn't work, and I know you've reported back to us, and we've made a few tweaks on times and finding what works for best for our families so we can get the best participation. So I appreciate all your efforts and in working with this program, so thank you.
And we've had really excellent educators helping us to provide this program, and so that is a key component too, and I know that they'll be sad that it's not going to continue either, so.
Bob?
I'd just like to point out how disappointed I am with the past legislative session that just ended. They gutted some programs that are outstanding. This isn't the only one, and it's just really disheartening. The things that schools, and not just K-12, but higher education as well, the things that they've done to move toward excellence in the last few years, because we had some dollars. It was fun. It was great to see for our state, and now we just took 2 giant steps backwards, and it's just disgusting. So I don't give a very good grade to our legislature for this year. I know that the dollars weren't there, but the dollars could have been there with just accessing some other funds. So I don't think they did a very good job. That's my editorial comment. Thank you.
Cedric?
If this isn't funded for next year, is this something we as a district are looking at subsidizing to continue the program, or what is the cost of this?
Well, right now it operates as essentially a flow-through, and the cost, what we've received is about $3,300.
Per classroom.
Per classroom.
So we had $6,600 this last year.
And I think looking to either continue the program, see what we can take from the program that was effective, and continue to try to emulate something to help transition our students. That's really what the key is transitioning students and their families from into the K-12 system. So I think we need to do something, whether it's this program or something that replaces it, but the key is transitioning students and their families into K-12.
Exactly.
Any other comments, Vicki, or questions? None? Thanks for the report.
Thank you for your time.
Moving to number 2, teacher licensure changes through House Bill 1098. Rob, you want more comments on that?
Okay, I had just to take you through a little bit, I wanted to be able to show you Dr. Becky Pitkin, who is the director of ESPB, put this together regarding 1098, and I just want to share just so you can see what was in the past and what is moving forward. A few different changes. If you look at the grade configurations, I think it's the second slide. Licensure in the past, you received licensure for grades 1 through 6. And now you would be able to go 1 through 8. In the past, we had a middle level endorsement that you needed sometimes you didn't need. It was really pretty confusing. People were needing to get some additional credits to teach something that they were qualified to teach anyway. And I think this cleaned up from the elementary standpoint in particular and made that a little bit easier to work with. You'll notice that there isn't a K in there. The kindergarten requires a different certification. I think that could have been rolled into the K-6 personally, and that's what I advocated for. But the 1 through 6, or I'm sorry, the 1 through 8 is what was defined. As you talk to early educators, they felt that there was still a need to have a separate certification for kindergarten. So that's what was maintained. But as you can see, the grades 1 through 6 became 1 through 8. If you go to the next slide, 7 through 12 became 5 through 12. And you can look, if you look at the example that I provided you in my superintendent's report, you get a chance to see some of that, where you're looking at, well, on mine it doesn't show, language arts 5, 6, that I would be able to teach some different areas because of that change. My degree is in secondary education. So you can see the differences there. And they can only teach in their content areas for grades 5 through 12. The other change, and it does go a little bit more deeply into some of the middle level stuff, but I think that's getting into the weeds a little bit for what we want. And you've already seen my example. The other difference is the minor. When I first became a teacher, you were able to teach in your minor. That changed when you needed a major equivalency through a highly qualified teacher status with No Child Left Behind. And so really what this represents is a return to the teaching in your minor. And without receiving a praxis, or without taking a praxis test and reaching a certain cut score, and or the major equivalency that you could pursue. I think the concern is, for those that have mentioned concerns, the concern is, are we watering down what credentials are? I would suggest that it isn't that. What I think is it provides an opportunity for a district. There have been, in some cases, very restrictive areas that this would broaden again. Giving somebody a credential to teach something doesn't provide them a job. They still need to be hired to do a job. And if they're the right fit for the district, then it gives them the opportunity, the district, the opportunity to hire that person and put them into a position to be successful. But just having one extra class or two extra classes on your license doesn't give you a job. You still have to be hired, and you still have to be the right fit. What I think it does is it provides a lot of flexibility for a teacher, especially a good teacher, a very talented teacher, to have more opportunities to teach, and it provides opportunities for a district to take advantage of the training that a teacher's had to fill in those courses that you need to offer. So I think it's really a win-win situation in terms of how that's used. But I respect and understand the concern that would be, are we loosening things up too much? In my opinion, we are not, but I respect that opinion for those that think that way. So really, the time frame, because it had an emergency clause, it's already in place. Mine's already been updated. And I think the rest of them should be done this week if they aren't already done. So it moved very quickly. I think what you see here as an example of the ESPB board, the licensure board for teachers, been very proactive in terms of getting, addressing credentialing issues, licensing issues. I think this is a good example of how it can be responsive to a need. And so I'm very thankful to ESPB and in particular Dr. Pitkin for pursuing and looking at this issue and trying to find some solutions to not having enough qualified, excellent teachers. One more solution we can find, so I'm very appreciative of it. I'd answer questions if you had any.
Any questions for Rob? Heidi?
I just want to comment, I think, for a large district like Jamestown, it may or may not be a factor, but for some smaller districts, it gives some local control as to what they want to do with their current staff and with what they have to work with.
Yeah, I think there's really probably minimal impact for us outside of the middle school credential. The middle level, that exemption in allowing, it just makes sense in a lot of ways that secondary, that middle level is overlapped between the elementary and the secondary. There's different coverage areas, and it just makes sense to me. But that's really where I see the biggest change is in that area. Certainly being able to teach in a minor provides more flexibility for the district, but we really haven't explored that yet because it's still so new. But yeah, I'm sure there's some impact there, but generally I think pretty minimal outside of just giving flexibility for people.
Any other questions? None. Moving on. Is there any old business? Hearing none, we'll move into new business. And we have nothing under activities or building and grounds, nothing under curriculum. Moving to number 4, finance. Is there a motion to approve the Central Valley Health request, number 1, school nursing at $40,000? Motion by Jennifer, Seconded by Bob. Any discussion? Hearing none, assuming roll call vote, all those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Rob?
Just one comment on that too. If we are interested, I would be happy to ask Central Valley to come here and just kind of outline what happens during those nursing hours, with their health careers too. We could tie that in if we want, if you'd
That'd
be
be
interested
good.
in having that.
Yep.
I will arrange it.
Okay, moving to number 2, is there a motion for approval of Central Valley Health request health career instructor at 84-2? Motion by Jennifer. Seconded by Greg. Any discussion? Cedric?
As we go through negotiations, as far as how our regular teacher salaries increase, decrease, stay the same, does that change on something that we contract through Central Valley?
No, that wouldn't change it. Sally, am I incorrect in that?
No, it would not. It would not change it. The only thing that would change, Cedric, is she does do the VICA advisor, so that is off our current master agreement for activities. So on the contract, it's noted that 1,100 or 1,300, I don't have that amount right in front of me. The contract states, well, it's on there, to be adjusted after negotiation. The remainder of the amount, no. We've signed, you're signing, agreeing on that amount.
Is that the same as last year, or up, or just curious?
It is an increase because we have the extended contract in there. We're using the instructor, we're treating that position similarly to any other high school staff with that extra prep. It is up, even if you look without that extended time, it is up a little bit, but subject to Central Valley's schedule. But it's not a significant increase outside of that extended time, which we did approve this year also. It was just 2 separate motions.
Any other discussion? Hearing none, assuming roll call vote, all those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Moving to letter B, is there a motion to approve the North Dakota Reading Corps program for 2017-18 school year at the cost of $12,626.18, pending the grant approval? Motion by Bob, seconded by Heidi. Any discussion? Hearing none, assuming roll call vote, all those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Moving to letter C, is there a motion to approve the Arts Center agreement for the 2017-18 school year at the cost of $22,500? Motion by Brenda, seconded by Steve. Any discussion? Hearing none, assuming roll call vote, all those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Moving to letter D, is there a motion to approve the food service prices for the 2017-18 school year? Motion by Jennifer. Seconded by Diane. Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Moving to personnel, is there a motion to approve the determination of appropriate negotiating unit? And if you'd want to read that, what's on your drive there? Move to pursuant, oh, Bob, sorry about that.
Pursuant to North Dakota Century Code Section 15.1-16-10, I would like to move, that pursuant to North Dakota Century Code Section 15.1-16-10, the Board of Jamestown Public School District recognizes as the appropriate negotiating unit of all teachers defined by North Dakota Century Code 15.1-16.01, be employed by the board, with the exception of social workers, school psychologists, substitute teachers, administrators, and coordinators.
Is there a second? Seconded by Brenda. Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Moving to letter B, is there a motion to the board's notice to intent to consider petition? Jennifer?
I motion the school board having accepted the description of an appropriate negotiating unit, has on file a dated petition form, the Jamestown Education Association, which contends that it represents a majority of the teachers within the negotiating unit. This notice, which is posted in every school in the district, announces that the board will meet on May 15th, 2017, to consider the petition and to determine the question of representation.
Is there a second? Seconded by Bob. Any discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Moving to letter C, is there a motion to approve the resignation of Rika Quickschreiber as special education teacher at Lincoln Elementary at the conclusion of the 2016-17 school year? Motion by Bob, seconded by Greg. Any discussion? Bob?
With regrets.
Yep.
Good teacher, good person.
Any other discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Moving to policy and procedures, there a motion to approve the second reading of the Parent and Family Engagement Policy, KAB. Motion by Greg, seconded by Diane. Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Moving to number 7, tuition. Is there a motion to approve the tuition agreement for an 8th grade Jamestown student to attend Beach Public School for the 2016-17 school year? Motion by Jennifer, seconded by Steve. Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Is there any items for future agenda? Bob?
Just noticing the Talented and Gifted open house coming up next week. I wonder if we could get a report sometime from those teachers. It might be tough to get at the end of this school year, but maybe next year sometime, just for future reference.
Yep, good idea. Any other items? Hearing none, we'll move into meetings to be scheduled here. We have the District Improvement MTSS meeting on Tuesday, tomorrow, May 2nd at 3:30 in the Thompson Room in the middle school. We have the Health Committee meeting on Monday, May 8th at 3:30 in the conference room of the district office. We have the Talented and Gifted open house on Tuesday, May 9th at 5 p.m. in the Washington Gym. We have the school board meeting Monday, May 15th at 5:15 here in the Thompson Room. We have the Transition House graduation on Wednesday, May 17th at 11:30, and that is at the bunker, not the Transition House itself. We have the GE graduation coming up on Wednesday, May 17th at 7 p.m. at the Career and Technology Center. And it's amazing to say we have our high school graduation coming up already on Sunday, May 28th at 2:30 at the Jamestown Civic Center. Oh, Heidi?
Mr. President, I apologize for not getting this into Amy, but a Southeast Education Cooperative meeting has now been scheduled for May 9th at 11:30, now that the legislature is wrapped up. So 11:30 in Castleton at the Governor's Inn.
Moving to Roman numeral, Diane?
I had a question about high school graduation. I remember reading that we were going to do it a little differently this year since there's so many of us. Will some of us be on the stage and some of us be down in the audience? I didn't quite follow that.
Or we can talk about it too at graduation to see how many are coming and going to be there, and then coordinate, whether we want to sit in the front row or sit up on top. And then also, if you have a special person you want to present to, just get up at that time and come forward. And so.
The issue is not so much who's sitting on stage. We have plenty of room for who's sitting on stage. It's the standing and the receiving lines on stage, and try to rotate where we don't have more than 2 or 3 people up there at a time, because again that ceremony is for our kids, and then they walk through and shake 7, 8 hands before they get down to the end, and it just gets kind of awkward and a little bit unwieldy. And so if you can let us know, I know I've heard from some that could or could not make it. I'm assuming Heidi will be there. But the bigger issue is letting us know if you're going to be there or not, and then we can make a rotation as far as who's going to do it at each time.
Sally?
I'm gonna help Amy out here. For all these people planning purposes, if you could tell me, right now, who is going to be at, the transition plan for people. So who will be at the transition house graduation, who will be at the GED graduation, and who will be at graduation?
I'm going to be at all three.
Okay,
I'm going to try to be at the transition, and I will definitely be at the high school graduation.
GED, transition house, and grad. Diane, you're gonna be at all three, and Roger, you're going to be at
Yeah, put me down for all three, too.
You will be at all three?
Yep.
Heidi?
I'll be at graduation for sure, I'm checking the other dates.
I should make the transition house graduation.
And not the GED?
No,
Okay, and you're gonna be at graduation? No. Okay. Graduation, that's it? Okay, Brenda? None. Jennifer?
But also I'll be at the GED graduation.
Okay.
Not be at high school.
Okay. Diane, let's see, who did I miss? For graduation, okay. High school graduation, that's it? I'll put you down as a maybe transition and graduation, yes, and no GED. You said graduation?
They prepare
He does. Yeah.
That, they prepare food, so if there's, 15 people that are coming, they prepare amount of food, so that's why it's helpful for them to, if all of a sudden there's 15 more people, some of these maybes all came, that, so they prepare food for everybody, so just being considerate, I guess, of their time and efforts, so. Okay, thank you very much.
Moving to Roman numeral number 6, is there a motion to executive session to discuss negotiation strategies? Oh, read it on the not loading? Okay.
I, Bob Toso, believe that discussion with our negotiators and developing a strategy relative to the school board's position in this matter in open session would have an adverse fiscal effect on the negotiations position of the board. Therefore, I move that the board enter into executive session, that the following members and negotiators be identified as being present. School board members Greg Allen, Diane Hansen, Roger Hout, Heidi Larson, Brenda Remick, Jennifer Schmidt, Robert Toso, Cedric Trevik, Steve Veldkamp, Superintendent Robert Leck, and Business Manager Sally Ost. That the date and time are May 1st at 6 o'clock, and that only the following topic will be discussed in executive session: negotiation strategy. That the legal authority for the executive session is Section 44-04-19.1 of the North Dakota Century Code. That the executive session be recorded.
There a second? Seconded by Brenda. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. And we will be coming back into here to close the regular meeting, so